6:45, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Mr. Isley isn't here this evening. He had a previous commitment. First on our agenda is to approve the agenda. I'd like to move the order of city business action items. Let's see, number 5 is discussion of operations and maintenance agreement for Preview Lake. I'd like to move that to number 1, please. Anything else?
Number 1 under action
business.
items.
Yes,
Okay.
just moving it up
Like-
so our guests can go.
But behind all the presentations and reports.
Well, that's what I was asking you about. Alan, we can move up the action items into presentations. So after Mr. Schmidt does his, we can do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do
Want to
that.
do that?
It's just out of order, but it's obviously respectful for a lot of the folks that want to be here for just
Okay.
that piece, I think.
Right, then let's move number 5 under action items to number 2, or 1A, I guess, under presentations and reports.
And I'll just let the minutes reflect the fact that that piece of city business will be handled at that part of the
Okay, thank you.
show.
Anything else? And I also see our, in the consent agenda was an approval for Shelley Dropkin as our new Washington, or White Bear Lake Conservation District rep. And I see her here, so could I also amend the,
Why don't you just pull it out at consent agenda time?
because I don't want her to have to
Oh, well
stay.
then, okay, then put it up front.
I mean, if we
Yeah,
approve the
okay.
consent agenda, that's fine. I would just like you to meet Shelley.
Why don't
Can
you
we
just,
make it
why don't you just add her as a presentation?
Yeah,
So
that's right.
Okay.
Number 1.
1.5,
No, I'd like to put her first, so
Okay.
she can leave.
okay, so 0.5 Shelley.
Yeah, 0.5.
Okay,
Yeah, I just saw Shelley back there. So let's do her, actually, 1, we'll do Tom, 2.
I say we give her
and
0.9.
2A. Okay, did you get that, Alan? So number 1 will be introduction of Shelley. Number 2 is Tom Schmidt. Number 2A would be our Rice Creek discussion. Anything else, people?
I'll move with those amendments.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Bridget. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. We're going to start with the open public forum. Is there anybody here that would like to speak? Okay, Barton?
There's no microphone here, okay? So, Barton Winter, 1-5 Oaks Lane. And I've been working on the hockey rink this summer and installing perimeter posts. Now I'm going to put some board replacement. And so it's all been quite a big job. But I am very interested in the rink. And one of the things that's come to my attention is we're putting up netting at the west end, or the end closest to the warming house. And I don't know whether this was actually some issue that was approved by the council or just the Parks Committee. I'm not sure. I know the Parks Committee mentioned it briefly at the last Parks meeting in September. And it seemed like it was taken with a real lack of seriousness about who was going to be doing this work. And Jim and Ron, city maintenance employees, have been doing the work. So there's a few questions that I have about the posts that are being installed and whether they're sufficiently supported to, undergo the stress that they're going to be subjected to. So we're putting something up that's higher than, twice as high as what we've had in the past and what has been supported in the past. So My concerns are primarily the heavy posts that are in the two border positions near the gate entrance to the end of the rink. That these are being attached to the existing posts that support the chain link fence, and that they're being bolted together. And I just wanted to point out that, you know, the bolting process, maybe this is good enough, but nonetheless, it focuses the stress on a small area. And if you look at chain link fence, mostly you don't see bolt holes and bolts holding chain link fence. There is members of chain link fence. So I'm concerned that we're going to have stresses that could degrade our existing fence structure and could degrade the wooden posts. And what I'm asking is that we try and put banding, and so we broaden the area that the stress is going to be under, which is what you see on regular chain link fence. So you see like
Okay, Barton.
junctures and you see bands and things like that, but you don't see bolt holes and bolts holding it together because it's under stress, and we're increasing the stress. And my concern is that this is being done as cheaply as possible.
Okay,
And
thank you, Barton.
And I'm hoping that you'll listen. I did speak with Marcus, and I wanted to, I commented to him, and I'm hoping that the
We'll have
mayor and
Marcus
team
address it.
Can speak on this issue, because we don't want to ruin what we have right now.
That's right.
Just because somebody else said we need a fence down there, and we haven't had a fence there since its inception.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you, Barton.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your work on the rink. We really appreciate it. Is there anybody else that would like to speak during public forum? Yes, thank you.
Are we doing the pre-Bee Lake stuff during the public forum, the comments? Oh, that's
Yeah.
fine. Okay.
Go ahead. Just state your name and address, please.
Ruth Jensen, 701 Hall Avenue, and I'm here with my husband, Bud. And it's about Baby Lake, which people are fairly familiar with the history of it, but I am really disturbed by the proposed agreement, and the fact is that Rice Creek Watershed District never got the required easements to send water into or through Paul's Marsh. We went to Washington County, looked at the records, there are no easements against that. And I just think Birchwood should first of all compel Rice Creek to get the easements which are specified in their own rules. And along with the legal easements would be maintenance terms. And there are a lot of false statements and disadvantageous terms in the proposed agreement. And before proposing or signing any agreements regarding Paul's Marsh, we really think Birchwood should get advice from some more sources like environmental rights advocacy groups and an attorney with special expertise in eminent domain, real estate, and water. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Is there anybody else who would like to speak?
Justin McCarthy, 515 Lake. So first, I just want to say that I want to thank Bud and Ruth. Back when I was on the council, one of the things they pointed out to me was that, Pretty Lake was a problem, right? The outlet was a problem. It's causing problems for Halls Marsh. And while I agree with some of the sentiment that they express, I think that, the deal as has been presented presented with the amendments, I think is a good deal. I think that, could we get more? Maybe, but, you know, at what cost, right? I mean, I think we probably have to file a lawsuit. Now, do we have grounds? Yes. Do we have a good case? Maybe. I think there's some facts that weigh against us, right? Because in the 70s, we were the ones to propose this project to Rice Creek. So that certainly weighs against us. Do they have easements? No, not that I'm aware of. Should they have easements? Yes, they should. You know, the issue though is, you know, filing a lawsuit's it's risky. It's very risky. It's very resource intensive. I think, you know, getting the deal as is with some of the amendments that Mr. Hankins has proposed, I think is a good deal. The two amendments I think are fair. Number one, the idea of getting as Kathy would say, to make sure the marsh marshes. The marsh, the outlet of the Preview Lake Outfall Project flows from the pipe where it dumps it into Halls Marsh to the lake. We can talk all day about local maximums, local minimums that might impede that flow. According to Rice Creek, there's no possibility that the marsh wouldn't marsh. That's what they've told me when I talked to them about this. Because, you know, back in the day, it was me and Kathy working on this. So that's what they told us. So for them, I think it's a no-brainer, right? Because if the marsh can't possibly not marsh, then it's no skin off their back, right? Because there's nothing they have to do. They just have to verify that to us. I'm not convinced, because I see the water ponding right now. And in the 10 years or so I've been in that house, that's a new phenomenon. Maybe I just don't understand the hydraulics of the area, that's fine. But I think making sure that that is effective at doing what it's supposed to do is important. Number two, the other thing I would say is, and initially, in all fairness to all those involved, this is kind of a new position of mine, which is, you know, we had talked about sort of this idea of cleaning up the vegetation in the marsh. I think Rice Creek ought to help us with that. And the reason for that, and the reason for my change is in thinking about it, they are the ones that have caused some of the excess vegetation. And I don't want to say them. And when I say them, I mean Rice Creek, White Bear, those that are dumping the stuff into the marsh. Because, you know, 40 years of excess nutrients doesn't, you know, it isn't free, right? That increases the nutrient load, and so it increases the vegetation. So I really think those are very fair terms. And I think that while I agree with Bud and Ruth in spirit, I think that practically speaking, you know, I think we get what we can from this particular process, and then try and pursue grants for some of the other things that we want to do. So I encourage you to ratify the agreement as, you know, as amended by Mr. Hankins' excellent proposal. So thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak during open forum?
Can I just respond a little bit to that? Yeah, but what I'm, Ruth and I know each other, so we know how we think. But Rice Creek has, I think what they asked us to do is sign a statement, including some issues and some ideas. But in the fact that they've never sought any easement, to me, is showing of a attitude of some sort. I don't know what it is. But usually when a person wants to enter another person's property, primarily for a business reason, and their business is to get rid of stormwater, they seek permission to do that, and they have never done that. And to me, that's telling of an attitude that they have. You know, they don't ask permission, and they don't seek it. They think they have it. Maybe the other thing is that the water that comes into the marsh is often described by Rice Creek as being treated. And they describe it as such is because there's a stopping point up the road, and then it gets into a pipe and comes down here. But they've never, to my knowledge, tested the water for quality in the marsh. And the city of Birchwood did that several years ago and found that there were problems with the water in the marsh. So some work has been done. There's some back and forth conversation, but in the 20 or 30 years this has been in existence, nothing has been done. And I think it's time that Birchwood owns the marsh, or most of it. We have, a little bit of, but most of it, and they own it by a deed that was conveyed to them with the stipulation that they take good care of the marsh and protect it as a natural habitat for in perpetuity, as long as they own, as a condition of the transfer.
Okay.
And we think that putting stormwater into it, which Rice Creek contends it's treated, but the most recent test I know of the water is that it's polluted. And so we want a better deal than what we have now, which is basically, you get the water, whatever comes with it, without any responsibility.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jensen. I appreciate all your work on this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for the public forum? Okay, seeing none, public forum is closed. Shelley, do you want to come up to the, well, where the mic's supposed to be? Come up to the podium. Folks, I've been told this is being filmed remotely. Whether that's true or not, I do not know, but this is what I've been told. Council, this is Shelley Dropkin. She has applied or requested to be on the board of the White Bear Lake Conservation District in order to represent Birchwood. And Shelley, could you tell them a little bit about your work in Maine? Thank you.
Shelley Dropkin, 430 Birchwood Courts. I recently moved here about a year and a half ago from Massachusetts. Our kids are here in Minnesota, and we needed to be here. We have a cottage we've had a name for over 20 years. It's along it's on Great Pond in the Belgrade Lakes region. And we had an issue with phosphorus. Because basically rainwater getting into the lake and impacting the quality of the water. And so about 5 years ago, I entered into a commitment with our board at the Condo Association to go through what's called the Lake Smart process. And what that did was to basically help educate all of our camp owners, if you will, around what the practices needed to be to ensure that we were mitigating phosphorus building up in the water around our lake. And I'm really happy to report that for our association, we were actually the first association to get the Lake Smart approval. And I'm pretty excited about it. So when I heard that other conservation, work of the Conservation Committee, it's very much in alignment with what I believe is important, and that's how we maintain the quality of the lakes and the environment around us. So it just seemed to be very much in alignment with something I've had experience in.
Thank you, Shelley. We appreciate you coming forward to take on this responsibility. And thank you for coming tonight, so they can put a name to your face.
I have a question. I do the newsletter for the city, and we generally put out information regarding potential ways to keep the lake clean via property. Can you please send me information that we could potentially include in the newsletter? Thank you.
Thank you again.
I suppose we should move to approve her.
We can, or we can do it in the consent agenda.
It's in
Or
the
we can just
Oh, we
do
just
it.
want to,
Either
All right.
way, it
We just
doesn't
do it?
matter. I
Go ahead.
move,
All
why
right.
don't you make the motion, Kathy, since you.
I
if you
move
want
that
to.
we approve Shelley Dropkin
Mhm.
for representing the city of Birchwood for the White Bear Lakes Conservation District.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Get her indoctrinated, Alan.
It is interesting that the organization that she's talking about
Yep.
is an organization that was recently discovered by the district, so we're very interested in
Oh,
that group.
excellent.
So
Sorry, I could not hear what you said.
the organization that you were speaking about out on the East Coast,
Yes,
the
Lake
Conservation District, just, so you're aware, I'm the attorney for the lake itself,
great.
for the Conservation District. And
Okay.
so we've been in discussion about how to pull some of what they're doing into our group,
Oh,
so
that's wonderful, and I have like smart connections all over that.
you're just gonna have to work on your accent, though, it's not very East Coast.
Thanks again, Shelley.
And that meeting, by the way, is next Tuesday, so your first meeting is that.
It's on my agenda,
Very good.
with hopes that I can get approved.
Okay, thank you again. Mr. Schmidt, thank you for coming this evening.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And not to screw up your agenda timeline, we don't have a presentation per se. We're just making ourselves available to answer questions.
Okay, thank you so much.
For having us.
Okay, I think, Ryan, you had some questions. You can stay there, or you can sit, since there's no microphone, I don't think it really matters. We had a work session in which we discussed the agreement that was sent over, and I think Ryan just had a couple questions about it.
Might be more than a couple, but I'd like to just go through the agreement. And, first of all, thank you for coming in. Thank you for putting this together.
Can I get up?
Sure. I know this has been kind of a long process.
Okay, sorry, Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, so let me just start with the grants as kind of a general picture. Could you just describe kind of in broad terms what grants Rice Creek Watershed makes available and for what purposes?
You might have to go in
Yeah, that's,
my trying to bring her.
okay,
Nick is our.
great.
Nick Tomchak, District Administrator at Rice Creek. The district has 3 grant programs, kind of from the bottom up in regards to the amount of awards that are available. Many grants tend to be vegetative establishment grants, typically native plantings, this kind of stuff, improve the herbaceous layer. From there, we have water quality grants. That's the improvement of water quality through means, tends to be rain gardens most often. Teague Schmidt Park is receiving $10,000 for that. And then above that, we have stormwater management grants. Those tend to be capital improvement projects. Typically, we see cities asking for larger projects, I'll just say. All of these things run through a stormwater management grants, run through an engineering review and that kind of thing to see what kind of pollutant load reductions are within those. Run through the CAC, Citizen Advisory Committee for recommendation and consideration.
Okay, and that's great, thank you. And then, so the grants, the stormwater management grants, is the maximum amount of one of those grants $100,000, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and so I had seen articles about a couple of pollutant reduction programs in lakes in White Bear Lake, and those pollutant reduction programs tended to be $400,000 to $500,000 to clean up stormwater management ponds. Is that a rough estimate of how much such a cleanup would cost?
I could not confirm that.
Okay,
I have no doubt that they're relatively expensive.
yeah, okay.
But it's all gonna depend on the particulars of the
And how,
intended action.
how, like in White Bear Lake, where lakes were cleaned up, were those cleaned up through Rice Creek, or were they cleaned up through White Bear Lake? There was Varney Lake was cleaned up.
This is rather complex, and
Mhm.
I'll try to make it as brief as possible. So, lakes, not wetlands, but lakes have, water quality standards that the state has set. We monitor those lakes, determine their, alignment, where they fall on the spectrum, if you will. And then from
Okay.
there, we look at measures to assess where that pollutant load is coming from and how to address it.
Okay,
And those projects that would be contributing to that basin, is where those projects typically develop.
okay. And so is it reasonable to say that the Preby Lake Halls Marsh cleanup would be above what would be normally provided under grant funds from Rice Creek?
Yes,
Okay, the expense of that,
yeah,
okay.
if, yeah, if I can.
No, go ahead.
For a point of clarity and maybe additional information, so Preview Lake has storm sewers that enter into it.
Yeah.
When the road reconstruction occurred up there, we looked at placement of rain gardens because it would help treat the water before it discharged to the lake, improving the lake's water quality.
Before it discharged to Preby Lake,
Correct.
okay,
And then from Preview Lake, obviously that water goes down to House Marsh.
okay,
My point being is that there may be multiple avenues or approaches that are necessary because we couldn't put in rain gardens there because of the type of soil that was present, heavy, non-infiltrating soil.
okay,
So that's where the drawdown of the lake and the consolidation of sediment in the bottom of the lake at Preby would be advantageous. But it's a whole nother issue beyond the agreement document.
okay. And so going, kind of circling back, I mean, I guess I think that discussing the grants, because I know one of the things we've heard, and one of the things that the grant agreement here makes clear is that part of the solution here is going forward is through grants. There's a number of kind of call-outs in the agreement that Rice Creek will consider Birchwood and Halls Marsh for cleanup grants, and I just want to understand what the parameters of those are going forward.
Sure. Again, being brief and probably not capturing all the detail. So the contributing watershed to Halls Marsh, or more importantly, or equally important, White Bear Lake, is where you would look to treat it. So it could be vegetation improvement on yards adjacent to it by those landowners, or the work in T. Schmidt Park. It could be the other inlets into this extensive pipe from White Bear Lake and Matamidi in those areas, just to make sure all that water coming in is treated or improved from its current condition.
Okay, and so to address explicitly the water coming down the plop, it's a very enjoyable name to say. When you talk about the water quality and the water conditions of the water specifically coming down to Preby Lake, or to Halls Marsh from Preby Lake, how do you evaluate the water quality?
Through the monitoring that is completed in Preview Lake. So
Okay,
we have a lake and stream specialist, Matt Koshin, who would do sampling and investigation of the lake's condition. The quote-unquote quality of the water. And from there, we can look at measures to improve the betterment of that water. rain gardens was one attempt at that I previously mentioned.
Okay. And I guess what I'm asking about is when you're evaluating the water conditions, what you're asking, you know, as you know, Birchwood has an objection in place to the DNR to allowing water to flow from Preby Lake to Halls Marsh because the concern that that's not in the public interest. And I guess one of the questions I had when I saw this is, I was looking around for some of the water quality analysis from Halls or from Preby Lake, because that makes sense what you say here. I couldn't find any water quality analysis since 2013. How do you plan to calculate water quality and evaluate whether that should flow into Halls Marsh going forward?
Well, specifically to the monitoring, I would have to engage Mr. Potion in the frequency and the records that he has for the monitoring the lake and the quality of the water in Preby Lake.
Okay.
I'm missing a part of your question, I'm sorry.
I guess my question is, there's been no water testing that I could find records of in the past 12 years. And obviously, in order to acknowledge that Birchwood that this is in the public interest, that water drain through the plop, one of the things that it seems like would be worth evaluating is just, you know, a water test to make sure that Preby Lake isn't somehow, you know, full of something, you know, harmful. And it's interesting, is water testing expensive, or is there some reason why that information isn't available?
It's a bit of a loaded question.
No, it's not a loaded question, it's a factual question.
I'm sorry, Councilperson, my intent by saying a loaded question was to mean that it's complicated. It depends on what you're testing for. Just as if you were to test your blood, what specific chemical test are you asking the laboratory to assess it for? And again, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to deflect your inquiry. It's important. Matt Koshin, I think, would be able to answer that better. But typically, we test water for oxygen content and its nutrient load, phosphorus, nitrogen.
Okay. And what criteria would you use to determine whether draining those things down through into Halls Marsh meets the criteria to be in the public interest?
The establishment of the Preby Lake Outlet Project is a flood management project, which is distinctly different from the water quality one. That's not to diminish Birchwood's concerns about the quality of the water coming down, but flooding is more of a volume. The testing of Preby Lake water would be for what's called a shallow lake, less than 20 feet deep, and those standards are set by the state.
Okay, so when I read under the recitals, it says the plop was established and is maintained as a lake outlet / flood damage retention project and not a stormwater project. And then I come down here and somewhere in here it says that it's not intended, here it is, the use of terms such as storm sewer in this agreement are for ease of understanding and not to assign status to the project as a stormwater project or to make it subject to municipal separate stormwater system regulation. What is the meaning of those things?
Council, that's anchoring the project under its initial intent and what it was petitioned to the district to do, which was to relieve the flooding. Storm sewers, the pipes under streets and such, are under permitting at the state level. That's called a MS4 permit. And so all those entities these cities that have this infrastructure, which Rice Creek does not, we do not have an MS4 permit. But we do similar things, education of the public on how to improve the water entering these systems, that they be maintained, do not diminish quality of water downstream.
Okay. And how do we, and I think what this comes down to is how do we in Birchwood understand that that the water coming down from Preby Lake does not diminish the water or soil quality in Halls Marsh?
By recognizing the district's mission of Rice Creek, it's water quality and flood control. So the actions that the district takes are to improve water quality in Preby Lake and other lakes throughout the district, and to prevent flooding throughout the district as well. And our programs and our rules and all that are geared to the success of those goals.
And could you just give me a summary of what the rules are that ensure that the water quality is not diminished?
Sure. The rules don't ensure the water quality isn't diminished, but they mitigate as property is developed or redeveloped on the landscape. So if you go from an ag field to, for example, a Home Depot, that water that leaves the property has been treated to a certain level, and its rate of discharge from the property remains consistent with what it was before development.
And so when you're saying treated to a certain level, could you talk about what that certain level would be for the water that's entering into Halls Marsh?
Sure. Typically, it's retention for a sufficient amount of time for sediment to drop out of the water column
And
remain in the stormwater column.
I guess what I'm asking is, you're saying typically, is there any standard you would use explicit to Halls Marsh?
Halls Marsh is not the regulated item, it is receiving water. So development, land use changes adjacent to it that would trigger our rules would be the things regulated. There is a specific criteria in the rule, and yeah, I'm using generalized terms because I can't speak definitively to what that engineering amount is.
And and specifically for the flow through Halls, through the pipe, what would be the criteria you would use to determine whether that was detrimental to Halls Marsh?
The water quality in Preby Lake as a shallow body of water,
So you wouldn't,
the state standard,
and what is the state standard?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay, but there is a state standard.
Correct.
Okay,
There is a standard, you may have heard swimmable, fishable,
okay,
this criteria, and the state gives us a nutrient load amount within the water, which they find to be acceptable. And I'll make note that this is specific to the previous items I noted of oxygen content, phosphorus, nitrogen in the water, where other things like mercury is atmospheric
Yeah.
deposition into the water from a colder and such.
and so, under this agreement, would there be any limitation on, with respect to those state standards and the water quality in Preby Lake? Well, let me finish my question. Would there be any standard with respect to the water quality standards in Preby Lake with respect to whether or not Rice Creek would accept it being drained into Halls Marsh through the plop?
No.
Okay.
It would, I want to make sure I'm hearing the question correctly.
My question is this an open-ended license for Rice Creek to drain Preby Lake into Halls Marsh under any conditions?
The plot outlet
Yes.
is legally established and would remain in drain to Halls Marsh. The quality
Okay.
of water in Preby Lake is subject to the district's mission and goal, and so we would continue to work to improve the water quality there.
Okay.
I think you're referring to a potential drawdown of the lake.
Yeah,
Because under normal circumstances, like flood conditions, lake bounces up and goes over the stop logs, comes downstream regardless, right? I mean, we don't remove stop logs unless, only once and if we get a permit from the DNR
But-
to do so.
but that's what this agreement is asking for Birchwood to remove its objection and allow Rice Creek to open and remove the stop logs or whatever they called and drain water from Preby Lake into Halls Marsh. That's explicitly what this permit is, what this agreement and what the consideration that Birchwood is providing under this agreement.
I think the standards that Nick was referring to are set by the Minnesota Pollution Control Agencies.
Okay, but what I understood was that no matter what the standards are, that Rice Creek, upon entering into this agreement with Birchwood, would be allowed to drain Halls Marsh into, would be allowed to drain Preby into Halls Marsh regardless of any water conditions in Preby Lake. Is that correct? That's what I heard you
Yes, I would
say.
say that is correct.
Subject to the DNR's
Yes, we would have to,
Subject to the DNR's
permit.
permit, and I suppose it could potentially be true that Birchwood could eliminate its objection and the DNR could still not grant the permit.
They could
Okay.
also include stipulations in the permit for discharging the water for water quality treatment of Privy Lake, if you will.
Okay,
We don't have a permit for that purpose.
okay. So, now, under this agreement, it has a number of provisions here. Help me understand a little bit when I look at the Halls Marsh aspect of this, and I asked you a number of questions about water quality in Preby Lake. What would the conditions be? What should Birchwood expect the conditions, the water quality and soil quality conditions to be in Halls Marsh upon adoption of this agreement?
Meaning the current condition,
I want to understand so if you look at the agreement, it basically says there's a bunch of cleanup stuff that goes on within 2 years of the adoption of the agreement, including sediment removal from Halls Marsh,
Privy Lake,
no, from
all
Halls
the
Marsh.
buildup, I
Hall.
know, Halls Marsh, yeah.
Yeah,
And Preby.
and Privy Lake. What should Birchwood expect the water conditions and soil conditions in Halls Marsh to be after the adoption of this agreement?
You mean after it's cleaned?
After it's cleaned, yes. After 2 years after you guys do your cleanup of Halls Marsh, what would we expect to see in Halls Marsh for water and soil conditions?
the intention is to remove any accumulated sediment that's been deposited by the Privy Lake outlet pipe itself.
Okay,
We remove that sediment. The testing that we were proposing is related to our disposition of that sediment once it's removed. So we can't just, if it's contaminated with VOCs or heavy metals or anything, not that it is, we don't know, we're going to test it. Before we can dispose of it, we have to test it, determine if it needs to be landfilled.
okay.
But it would be removed.
It'll be removed.
It would be
When
removed.
you say the portion that is deposited, sorry, I'm jumping on your,
Go ahead,
go ahead. The I'll portion-
take a break.
you'll take a break?
Let other people ask, but I'll come back to me.
Yeah,
Give somebody else a chance.
this somewhat makes us a dumping ground, and I know you're aware of that. So as far as the deposits of the outlet or the outflow into Halls Marsh, it seems that you are no longer considering the marsh itself as part of your project. You essentially are suggesting that there is some magical pipe that's getting it from one end to the other that does not affect the rest of the water or quality of the soil in this marsh at all. So you have looked at just the portion that is being deposited from sediment. So are you going to be cleaning up sediment and testing throughout the entire marsh? Because fluid dynamics would imply that water is going to mix. We have 47 years worth of water mixing. So are you cleaning up the whole marsh, or are you cleaning up your surprise pipeline that is somehow getting through this marsh?
The intent of the agreement is to remove the sediment delta that's formed from the,
So only the area that you think has been affected by your current process, not the entire marsh.
the fine sediment that may have been deposited is unlikely recoverable now. Anything that's coarse or that's dropped out near the end of the pipe.
Well, if you've been down there when the water is low, which is only occasionally now, there is very much a divot at that spot, and then the water has to get up over that, which means that water is being pushed, or all of that sediment is being pushed throughout the marsh. If you're implying that the marsh is going to actually flow from one side to the other, it is moving throughout the entire thing. And the marsh, if you're, I live on the marsh. I'm their neighbors. And Justin over there, who is one of the other city council members, is on the other side. We see the marsh daily. So the amount of water that is in that marsh fluctuates, but there is always water. And then in the winter, when it drains down, there is channels that you can see. So that water is moving through there. So you would need to clean up more than just the 5 feet that is in front of that pipe. It has gone for 47 years through the entire marsh without being cleaned up. So one of the issues that I personally have with this is the cover letter you sent with for our meeting on the 30th, where you referred to that the marsh was not included in your plop agreement. And it was rather upsetting to us because to get you to honor your agreement in the 1970s is the only reason we're looking at this. There's no reason for us as a natural habitat to allow polluted water into our marsh. There's also no reason for us to assume that you have to go through our marsh, because apparently in the 1970s it was suggested that you guys just take a different turn and go directly into the lake. But they wanted to go directly through the marsh, and it's because you wanted it to marsh and remove those sediments and the pollution before it gets into our drinking water. And it makes sense to do that. But we also don't want to be a dumping ground. So Preeby Lake is your priority. We don't want to be the second, like the ugly stepchild here. So that's my thoughts on this at this point.
Could I make one more comment, short one? That the main source of water from Creedy Lake are the 4 White Bear Lake storm sewers that empty into Creedy Lake. So whatever you do on an interim basis, the water coming out of Creedy Lake into Halls Marsh will be safe.
Okay, I have some more questions.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Okay. Let me pivot a second. Thank you guys for coming in. I know we're grilling you a little bit, but we're trying to kind of work through this. So thank you for coming in. When we look at, I want to ask about the general provisions clause,
Can you give them a letter?
section N. And it says, this agreement constitutes the entire agreement of the parties. It's, if you go up to 3, Birchwood Village agrees to, and count up like 3 or 4, 2 or 3 letters.
Top of the 5th page.
This agreement constitutes the entire agreement of the parties. And maybe, Alan, is that exclude things like the memo, things, agreements, pieces of information outside of this? Because that's what this appears to me to say, is this agreement constitutes the entire agreement of the parties. Is the intention of that this is the totality of the agreement, and that the memo is just a separate thing that somebody wrote? We're not being, in other words, are we being asked to agree to the memo?
No.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I told you not to.
That's
okay.
the 4 corners of this.
We're basically being asked to agree to the agreement here, and not necessarily, okay. So, I don't know if it would, like, would you like them to rescind the memo or something, or?
No, I'm more so the intent of the memo is where I think that the problem is, because I've been working with you for 2.5 years on this. So as far as having read that after going through all the work of, our intent has always been cleaning up the marsh and making sure that it was not going to be a dumping ground and was going to be taken care of and be a natural habitat for future generations and be in better shape than it is today, and definitely better shape than it was in the last 10 years, and ideally back to the shape it was 46 years ago, when it was deeded to our city as a natural habitat. So the intent was always from the city that we were hoping to clean up the marsh. So there are several, we were also told that this is our final draft of this agreement, and that we had to talk about this one, which is why we had to bring it in front of our council to actually talk about it. So that is why it is here. The issues that I have had with it, and Alan and Marcus have been working with me for the last 6 months on, or I guess 6 months, 8 months, whatever it is now, 10 months now,
6 now.
on working on this one. Your memo really drew into light that you only care about the outfall and the outlet into the lake, but nothing in between. That somehow that has magically is a jumping point that you skip over, which then I don't believe it's an agreement that's in our best interest due to the lack of, it's back to our handshake that we had 46 years ago that, yeah, it'll get taken care of. We're skipping the marsh. So that is why I'm, even though I like quite a few of your amendments, but I also feel that the intent of it is not there to protect our property and our natural habitat and what Birchwood will be subjected to. And then whatever water quality will get through the marsh, if it's not marshing correctly, and that water actually ends up in White Bear Lake, we have ruined our water that we drink, our recreation that is our main source of income, because we only have property tax in our city. So if we ruin the value of the property of White Bear Lake, we can't fix it. We have no way to get money to fix it if we ruin White Bear Lake. And if we ruin Hall's Marsh in the effort to do that, we don't benefit. There's nothing we can do about it. So that is my main contention with this agreement.
And Kathy, you've been at this far longer than I have, but as I listened to this conversation and as I've read through and gotten feedback from residents, it does seem that we can't depend on the quality of water that's coming into Halls Marsh.
No.
And then we're being asked to accept responsibility for a lot of costs to measure the quality of the water, and I don't know what it costs to do an annual marsh. I don't see that that's happening at the Preby end. So it does seem disjointed and not right. Will there be, if we were to accept this agreement, what's the cost to Birchwood?
It would be fairly extensive because if the water is going into the marsh and after they've cleaned it up, everything else as far as vegetative and everything else that we need to get done, we have to get grants and such, which means we will have a portion that we have to cover as well. The marsh should never have gotten to the point it is now. It was 46 years of being neglected. So the reason we considered this is there is a potential to get grants and to help build up that. And there's several grants available for marshes, where if you have educational aspects and things like that, we've always wanted to put a boardwalk through. There's been grandiose plans for what could happen with our marsh to actually make it a place that would be valuable and enhance the community. Having an impaired lake, which Preby Lake is listed as an impaired lake, drain into it and draw down everything that is settled right now in Preby Lake. I know it's a slow process, as you mentioned, but fluid dynamics kick up all sorts of things, so that water's not going to be clean. It's going to end up in Halls Marsh. It is my backyard, so I'm also concerned about smell and everything else, because Preby is not exactly a pleasant place to walk around if you've walked around it. So there is a long-term time frame for how long it will actually take to clean up. And then since the marsh isn't considered part of this agreement is the part that I'm very concerned about. So from my perspective, I'd rather say no and start over, even if it will take another 2 years of going through this to try and get something that actually is going to benefit the marsh, water quality, and the general details of making sure that our natural habitat that we were deeded can finally become that.
But what's the plan? I mean, so we say no, then what's the plan? We still have the bad water that's coming down from Preby, whether you like it or not, it's still coming down. I mean, are we gonna sue them, or are we gonna?
No, I'm of the opinion that we seek out grants and actually clean up the marsh as it should be.
It's still our responsibility.
Yeah.
Because then we have to get grants for it, and we have to do all the work. Versus they're gonna do some of the work, we can get grants for the rest.
The agreement allows them to continue draining forever.
Which they'll always do. None of your solutions have suggested that they won't be able to drain, unless you sue them.
I think there's a lot of good in this agreement. I personally am not willing just to throw it out.
I would like,
That's all right.
I have a bunch more questions I'd like to go through.
Really, Ryan? The way I'm thinking about it is once Preby Lake gets cleaned up, yes, it's gonna require draining into Halls Marsh. The water quality after that coming down from it is going to be good, because the water standards are so much higher than they were
Definitely than it
46
was
years ago.
46 years ago.
So it's just that period of drawdown that the water should maybe be monitored for whatever.
And I'm totally fine with, like, the drawdown portion doesn't bother me at all. The concern I have is the lack of responsibility for what they've actually done to the marsh and the cleaning up of said marsh. It is the only card we have.
I understand that.
So, yeah, that is where I
Why
am.
don't we, I mean, can I make a suggestion? I mean, I'm gonna be pretty insistent that I get to ask all my questions here, but,
Then let's do it.
but I guess I would just like to hear from Kathy and Bridget what they'd like to see in the agreement that's not in there right now. And let's hear what should go in there.
Yeah. I'm more than willing to say what I would like. I have
I mean, I guess.
In the last 2.5 years, I have proposed multiple times that Rice Creek be responsible for cleaning up the marsh, not just the flow portion, so that the vegetation that is currently invasive, that is vegetation that is most likely affected by the high amounts of phosphorus. It would be wonderful to get that cleaned up in addition to the water testing and soil testing throughout the marsh to make sure we don't have areas that are over that entire marsh, high in levels of things that shouldn't be around people. So mostly I want what should have been taken care of over the last 46 years actually agreed to and done, in which case then I am totally fine drawing down Privy to allow that to be clean, to allow that stormwater as a runoff, as opposed to we're getting all the garbage, you're cleaning only the outfall and this very small spigot going into White Bear, and actually making sure that the marsh is restored to a healthy level so it can marsh, so it's getting all of those pollutants and everything out of that water and doing what a marsh should, so that that water is flowing out the end and our drinking water isn't affected. So that is my concern, is the 200 feet-ish of space that they're ignoring shouldn't be removed.
I guess that's what I added, I thought.
Well, it was in our portion, but it was only somewhat addressed in the addition that you made. And I loved your additions, they're great.
Okay.
But as far as the, like, I liked the removing fund vegetation removal costs through grants. I need that for the entire marsh, not just the outlet and the outlet into White Bear. It should be looking at the entire marsh and cleaning up that entire thing. It's too big of a project for us to do on our own. There are grants available for us to do some of it, but I'm not willing to sign it at the current level that it's at. And also, your amendments are lovely, but that's not the version that they brought before us. So that's the one that we were asked to vote on. So
Well,
if they are willing to
they
accept
don't-
additional amendments,
Well,
great.
They don't have any authority to compel us to vote on anything. I guess,
So Ryan, I can answer the question that you asked of Kathy, what would make me more comfortable?
please.
One, knowing that the water and that there are measurements and discipline, that the water that is coming into the marsh is clean. I'm still confused about that. And what we're measuring, et cetera, et cetera. Seems like the onus is more on Birchwood to report back what the water is doing, as opposed to, us saying, okay, the water's clean, yeah, let it go. So that would be one of the things that I would want. Secondly, given the Birchwood budget and how tight things are, I have no idea what the expense might be to Birchwood, and I think there's gotta be some kind of estimate. So those are my two things.
Okay, I'd like to go through some more questions with you guys if we can here, if you don't mind. Okay, I know you are, so, all right. So under, it's just below, I asked about section N a couple minutes ago. I want to ask about section P. It says, disputes under this agreement shall be resolved pursuant to Minnesota statutes, section 103D.539. And it says, by submitting the dispute to the Dispute Resolution Committee of the Board of Water and Soil Resources, any decision of the Dispute Resolution Committee shall binding on the parties. And we'll assume there should be a B in there. Is the intention of this section that the arbitration is binding? Because when I go look at 103D.539, it basically says, it describes an informal dispute process. You can appeal, and then regardless of the results, or you can arbitrate through the Board of Water, Soil, and Water Resources, and then you can appeal to the district court or file in district court if you disagree with that decision. this kind of contradicts that. I was just wondering what the intention of that paragraph is. Is it binding or is it not binding on Birchwood?
As we're not lawyers.
Okay. Okay. See, that, to me, this clause is, I think that would really need to be changed. And I had just kind of shortened it up here. I think it's really nice to have an arbitration process in case there's a disagreement here and have somebody come in and kind of look that over. But it's unclear to me whether this would be binding or not binding. So, that's a clause that I think is an issue. But I want to get back to where I kind of was here before. The only place polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons are mentioned is in this I do want to ask one more question here under 3, and Bridget asked about this, and I think it's a great question. Birchwood is being asked to prepare and make available to the public an annual report on the ecological health of Halls Marsh. Could you, I'm sorry?
It's F.
F, whatever it is. Okay, well, I just read it. So, could you discuss what the parameters are of that report and what Birchwood would be expected to provide?
I think the report would reflect the goals that the city of Birchwood would have for its property. And
Okay.
the actions taken in any improvement condition, whether that be through grants or otherwise.
Would it be fair to ask Rice Creek or White Bear Lake to prepare a similar report on the condition of Preby Lake?
I don't think that's unreasonable. It's what
Okay.
typically the district has that monitoring data and can demonstrate the trends in the water body.
Okay. And when was the last time water quality testing? I think we covered that. We don't necessarily know. Okay, so just going a little further here and kind of circling back to where I was before. What would we expect upon adoption of this agreement? What would we expect after 2 years and upon adoption, the water and soil conditions in Halls Marsh to be? What should we be able to, if we're in corporate speak, what should our metrics be?
I think what you would see is the actions of the district, which would be the analysis of Halls Marsh and the dredging of the sediment within that basin and its removal. I certainly would believe that to be improving the conditions down there, but I couldn't tell you how that might materialize in the vegetation or otherwise. Same goes for Preview Lake. The ongoing monitoring of Preview Lake, if it were drawn down, if the city were to remove the sedimentation and its outfalls into that lake and the lake bottom consolidated and reduce the nutrient load within the lake, the monitoring would tell us if it was successful or not.
If I might, I think what you're getting at is what is it gonna look like when the dredging is completed?
When the judging is completed? or-
Dredging.
Dredging, okay. Well, I thought we were talking about the judging too, but okay.
But the vision as an open water type 4 wetland, it's probably not.
Oh, no, it currently has like a floating island going on, like, it's a pretty cool marsh. We had Washington County, they have a marsh specialist apparently who came out, and she was very excited about the marsh and the way that, she's like, oh, this could be so amazing, which could be is the operative word in that. No, there is a floating island basically that has variety of trees and things like that. There is a wide variety of animals that habitat there. So I would not anticipate that it would be a lake by any means. So no, it should have,
I'm just trying to
yeah.
get a feel.
No, it should be marsh. So it should have natural plants, it should have vegetative aspects that are, I think it's very heavily purple loosestrife right now is in there all over. There's quite a few other invasive species that have spread into that. I know we have yellow iris in there, which though beautiful, doesn't belong. So there's quite a few invasive species that have taken over portions of that, that have thrived in the high phosphorus levels that are now in that marsh, that wouldn't have otherwise been able to do so. So Baby Lake being much cleaner should help that, but I would anticipate removing all of the invasive species and getting that back to where the native plants can actually survive and thrive. Which would be
Okay.
what would be covered by any grant that we could potentially get to restore a natural wetland or marsh, so.
And I guess what I was wondering about is, there's this footnote here. It reads in part, testing shall include testing for polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon, PAH, along with other pollutants required by the MPCA. Birchwood did testing, you may be aware, on Halls Marsh and found higher concentrations of PAH-derived compounds nearer to the plop outlet and further away from the plop outlet, lower concentrations. And our engineering firm determined that it was likely the result of, inflow from Privy Lake and those contaminants coming in. Should we expect that after the cleanup of the marsh and on an ongoing basis thereafter, that we see those PAH compounds at lower levels than the maximums put out by the Minnesota Public Pollution Control Agency?
That would be our belief. We would identify
Okay.
the sediment locations,
Okay.
analyze for our disposal of those materials, and the removal from the water body, I would think would decrease the results of the testing that you had previously.
Okay. So, and so then would you, if you found levels higher than that were attributable to runoff from Privy Lake, would you expect to remove additional soil? Is it kind of like an additional soil or additional sediment until those levels were reduced below the Minnesota State Pollution Control Agency levels? Is that kind of how you would anticipate that to work?
I would anticipate our work to be consistent with the sediment in the basin.
I'm sorry?
The sediment deposition into Halls Marsh.
You would expect the sediment deposition to be removed.
Defined work that we would
Okay, and so, and how do you determine how far the sediment delta goes and how far what was deposited into Halls Marsh by the outfall? How far that extends into Halls Marsh?
That would either be a random or a gridded survey, I would imagine.
Okay.
So some topographic
Okay.
surveys to see the consistency of the material, the sediment, coarser, sandy-like material versus the organic matter that's typically found in the bottom of a marshy river.
And so it's reasonable to expect that as part of the cleanup, a bathymetric survey would be conducted?
Survey of some sort to identify the location, whether it was
Okay.
definitively that type, I couldn't say.
Okay. And then it would be reasonable to characterize where the extent of the sediment deposited from Privy Lake based on a survey of some form.
Yes,
Okay.
would be
That would be the goal of the survey.
the
Yep.
all of the pipe into the
Okay. And then, I'm sorry, were you going to say something?
Of the pipe,
Yep, of the obvious,
Other input.
there's obviously other inputs because it's a marsh.
There,
Yep, yep,
The one grant you just received
yep,
for Keach Schmidt Park will
Mhm.
also help.
Mhm.
And,
yep.
Majority of the water is
Freebie.
relayed.
Yeah, so, and I mean, I just added a couple things in here that I thought would kind of be, you know,
Where,
what's that?
there were only 3 things, I think, that you put in.
Yeah, there were 3
They have a
things.
copy, so if you could tell them.
I mean, yeah, so, okay, so I think you've
Red and
suffered through
G.
most of my questions. I'll probably come up with more. But there are a couple things. I added a stipulation that we acknowledge that Preby Lake has been determined to be hypereutrophic by the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, which is just an empirical fact. I added under Birchwood Village agrees to, I meant to add it under E, but I added it under F, accept responsibility for vegetative and/or habitat management activities. And then I said, because hypereutrophic conditions increase vegetation growth, RCWD shall equally share, costs of removal of vegetation if the most recent testing of Preby Lake shows hypereutrophic conditions. Such conditions shall be evaluated with respect to Minnesota Pollution Control Agency or similar standards. And then what else did I add here? Testing results for sediment after sediment removal shall meet or exceed all applicable standards. This is under,
C.
For
VI, what's that?
Rice Creek.
5 Rice Creek watershed, is that?
C.
5? No, yeah.
6.
C, yeah, testing results after sediment removal shall meet or exceed all applicable residential government standards for contamination and pollution. And then after F, I added G, within 2 years following the effective date of this agreement, conduct a bathymetric survey, and maybe we talk about what that is, of Halls Marsh for the purpose of assessing its hydraulic conveyance and drainage characteristics. The findings of the survey shall be distributed to all parties. RCWD shall subsequently undertake the removal of any sediment accumulations identified as an impediment to flow in order to restore and maintain proper conveyance through the marsh. Following this initial sediment removal, the resulting conditions shall be documented to establish a new baseline for the marsh. RCWD shall conduct future surveys every 10 years to identify and remove sediment as needed to ensure the marsh is maintained at this baseline condition and continues to function properly.
That was my favorite one.
That's quite the, and what's that?
I said that just makes sense.
That's quite the mouthful. And then at the end here, I just said pursuant to basically Birchwood's commitment to removing vegetation, that RCWD would fund vegetation removal costs through grants. And I mean, I look at
Want to
the,
change that from may to will?
well, we can.
Pre-approved grants.
Well, I think they will share the costs. They may share the costs through grants.
Oh, okay, I'm okay with that.
That's the way I intended that. You guys, I guess, I thought Kathy and Bridget made some good points too about putting some additional things in here. I think, I know there's a lot of, contention around this. I wonder if you might give us a couple weeks to kind of, if that would be okay, to kind of incorporate a couple of the comments we got tonight. What do you think, John? You're the mayor,
Decide.
so,
Like I said before, I
Well,
think.
let's see if they're even willing
Yeah,
to do that,
please.
I think.
Obviously, we've been working on this MOA for some time. It was written with the best of intent from the district, crafted by our team, legal, engineering, and staff, of
Mhm.
course, consistent with the initial establishment of the project. And then circulated, and, you know, we have two other parties in here, two other municipalities that have to review as well for their consideration. So we certainly believed that at a staff and consultant level that we had gotten to a sweet spot, that things were aligning. Manager Waller had shared some concerns from when this came up at your workshop, and I certainly appreciate all that you're sharing, and that we're perhaps not there yet. The district, under its facilities management program, does intend or have an obligation to continue with those. And that was part of that cover memo that we have asked our engineer to give us a task order that, you know, okay, what does it cost to go analyze the sediment? You know, what does that project look like so that the board can start to consider it? I appreciate the thoroughness of the comments and your objectives for the marsh. The grant programs that the district has are obviously written and approved by the board for release to the public. And so as staff, we have to follow that frame of the board. Anything you share, we would certainly bring back, and it is on for our November workshop to review the materials that Manager Waller raised, and there was a little bit of discussion amongst our board and said, hey, bring it back to a workshop. So specific to the question of a couple of weeks or what have you, that's fine by me, and I think certainly understandable and something we can look at for that November workshop. I think it's on the 6th.
November 6th?
Yeah. I'll grab a calendar, figure it out. The
Monday before the second Wednesday of the month of November.
That's not confusing at all. The Monday before the second Wednesday.
I mean,
No.
I think there's some valid concerns, I guess. I'm a little closer, I think, on this than maybe you are, Kathy, but,
Well, if we are able to propose, like, looking at the agreement that you have added things to, I think that's closer. But as far as the last agreement that we had received, we were told that that was the last opportunity we'd have to make edits. So that's why we brought it before our council to look at at that point.
and that's fine. I'm glad we got a chance to look at it, but as we, as members of government, we like to take lots of time and debate, so.
To it being the final and that you're anticipating your action, certainly if you're ready to take action, that would be great. The intent of it being final is that we have crafted it as you've received it, and it went to the other communities, and they were in alignment, staff and consultants were in alignment. Now let's hear from the council.
The intention was not, sorry, not to say that. This is all you get, no feedback. It's just,
Sure.
this has been circulating and you're looking for, moving it forward.
I think we all want to move it forward.
I would mention to you this, that agreement has not been before the board of managers yet,
Oh, okay.
so,
Still has to come up.
as Tom says, it's not final.
Would it be
Or
po-
Nick points out.
Thank you. Would it be possible for you guys to write down your
That would
thoughts?
be most helpful.
And we can get it to them. I think it's November 10th, if it's the
First Monday.
If it's the Monday before the second Wednesday, it's November 10th. So,
Offices over at
yeah,
Lane.
so if we could run off of this, that Mr. Hankins has added some things to, and add your
What's that?
thoughts. If we get it to you by the 10th, would that be sufficient for your workshop, or prior to the 10th?
In fact, you know what, I'll just have Alan send it out. and-
Yeah, when does your packet go out?
Can you send out the Word document of
The
this?
Thursday before the first Monday?
I'll send it to, I'll
Right.
Send it to Alan, but yeah.
If you could provide us
it's-
with your draft
Yes.
by ideally November 4th.
Okay, you got it.
And our meeting would be on November 10th.
Okay.
That would give us for the assembly of the
Okay.
packet to
Yeah. With the exception of the one point that Ryan brought up to ask about water quality for White Bear Lake, I think everything else applies just to Rice Creek and Birchwood Village,
Okay.
from my understanding.
And emphasize that today the staff has only spoke about watershed district grants available from our own.
Oh, yes, there's lots of grants available from other that are marsh, yeah.
Watershed district is partners, and we have with many, many cities and many times to develop grants from the Clean Water Fund, for example.
Okay.
And we have excellent staff with outstanding record of being able to
Yeah.
obtain those funds.
Yeah, I had talked to, was it Gail? I don't remember her name, from,
Gail Cedarberg?
maybe, yeah.
Met Council.
From the Met Council, so I'd spoken to her regarding some of the grants. And then I spoke to Washington County Conservation District. They have grants available. There's also ones through the DNR directly for marsh habitat education. There's lots of options. I don't want to spend grant money on restoring something that we're then dumping into, so I'd really like this to be taken care of first, because it doesn't make sense to do it in the other order.
Doesn't.
So, that would be the order of operations, and I don't want to apply for a grant and then not use the funds within the time frame. That's a waste of our time and theirs as well. So all of that is,
I'd like to echo that point. It's a very good one by the council person. The portion of the memo talks about these other inlets and pipes that come into the system and their discharge of water. And so we do not want to go and dredge the lake only to have an upstream
sure.
contributor go and clean their pond or send something down that undermines the good work that was completed. So, very important, and so this tried to lay out between all contributing entities, what they're responsible for and what should happen when, and choreograph that. Again, it is a district facility, we're obligated to maintain that, and it is our intent to do so. So, like I said, we have a task order underway to do that dredging work.
Thank you.
Anything else for these fine gentlemen? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
This is not intended to be a cover memo. It's
Okay.
simply trying to be a condensed history of the plot. So any omission or inclusion was not intentional.
Okay.
I add one last thing to you as a council, the district, both Nick and Tom have extensive experience here with managing wetlands. We have, as a district, a large wetland bank of over 80 acres, and so periodically that has to be inventoried, funds are, and there's certain processes to go through it. So managing a marsh, a wetland, is something the district has extensive experience with and does on a regular basis. We develop those procedures. You might want to think about what those are also.
But once we get it cleaned up, we'll be tapping that source of knowledge as well.
Any other questions? Yeah, we're all set? Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Opportunity for us to appear.
Thank you.
Thank you, it was very helpful.
So we do have a little bit of time, so as you guys send
Yeah.
comments and whatnot, we'll put a cover letter together with those things and make sure that they get those.
Write your own memo.
Ryan, do we want it all, Ryan, do we want it all in one document?
Yeah.
You know,
I think it is one document.
what I would,
That would be better.
I think we've got a couple options. Do people want to have do we want to have Alan collect it and collate it?
That's what I just offered to do.
Oh,
Yeah.
I wasn't listening, I'm sorry.
All of those comments in one document.
Yeah, why don't you just, that would probably be great. Why don't we just get all the comments collected? I mean, we can do it in a workshop too, because I didn't think I think everybody had a handful of things. I'm happy to do whatever.
Well, I was thinking
But
that if
I
Ryan,
don't have additional comments. We can send out the Word doc, you can add your stuff, you can add your stuff.
That's what I'm
You can
thinking.
ship it to Alan and he can put the paragraphs in the right order in the right place. It'll probably take you 10 minutes and then we'll move on.
and then
hopefully.
review,
So,
and hopefully we'll have something that we all like.
And it
Right,
might be
I
helpful.
think this that
I think
Ryan
it's a
put
good
together
choice.
already is really good.
I agree.
So I think that's a great idea, just to ship this around and they can
All right.
read it.
I'm
Let's
not
do
sure
that.
how we address my concern about what are the ongoing costs that we're going to take on.
Well,
So that may not be a part of this agreement, but I think we better understand it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if, did they get stuck?
No.
I have a
Okay.
suggestion too.
So if Preby didn't exist in general, we'd still be in charge of the habitat and everything per the deed of the marsh. So what the agreement would cover would be the ongoing maintenance of their portion of it, but I do want them to address the long neglect and correct that. So we're starting at ground zero of what it in theory would have been.
Right.
Sorry, I have no ability to talk anymore. 46 years ago, but yeah.
We're not spending any money on it now,
Not yet, no. So it would be,
and we will be spending money on it.
we will have to do some
And
maintenance.
We need to know
Yeah.
how much money and I know that there are grants and everything
Mm-hmm.
else, but worst
Agreed.
case scenario, we need to know what we're signing up for. That's just good fiscal responsibility.
Yeah.
And when I was gonna make a suggestion to you that we request to drop the frequency of the annual report to like every 3 years or every 5 years or
Every
something, that seems like an annual report seems
I
pretty
agree with that.
frequent,
And I
so,
agree that the rest of the area should be doing the same thing.
you know.
Yeah, I agree. The Preby should for sure be applying that as well. I believe we had requested that there be an annual report from Rice Creek, but they said that they wouldn't do it, so they put it under us. So that is where that came from. So,
Somebody ought to do it, okay, it's you.
yeah, so that is how
Literally was
that,
something that we had requested.
we had
you know,
requested.
Even back when Justin was working on it.
Yep, so it was something that they didn't put in for a long time, and then we kept on badgering, and then they put it under us, and we're like, well, it's in, but not exactly.
We just didn't want to let it go,
We
basically.
didn't, yeah.
And to address your fiscal worries, no money has been spent in 46 years on the marsh.
Right.
So, even if, I can't imagine that it would be a huge hit to any budget,
Okay.
just to maintain.
Mhm.
Once it's clean, once we have that baseline and we've cleaned it all out, have the vegetation come out and all that,
Yep. But
It's-
that's
it's
half,
really maintenance.
that's half our cost though.
Well, if they are in charge of cleaning up the mess they made, that should be on them.
It is
In
on-
which case, then our portion would be having volunteers go through and remove, like, weeding of sorts to try and get that to stay at a level where it's healthy, because a marsh should be its own little ecosystem. We shouldn't have to intervene often.
Okay.
So that is the intent of a marsh, as far as like, as a natural habitat, we shouldn't be altering a natural habitat much. So we will have to do something to clean it up now, because it is, I don't want to say so far gone, because it's still a lovely spot, but it is in need of some TLC for sure.
Well, they're gonna, the dredging project will take care of the bulk of that,
Yeah,
because it's just been a sediment problem.
Yeah.
And no one's been paying attention to it.
right?
as long
Okay,
as they're
lake
not
in
just
general
doing the outlet.
Central Bay is full of sediment because no one's touched that in eons.
Okay, we still have a lot to get
Yeah.
through here.
I think it
Thank
would
you
be,
for your work.
I think it would be
Thank you for
helpful
your work,
to get a
Kathy.
vote of you guys.
Thanks,
sorry?
It
Justin.
would be helpful to take a vote on
The current
the
agreement,
current version of this,
yeah.
so that we can send it to them saying this is what's been blessed by Birchwood, so then it doesn't come back.
Oh, okay.
These are negotiation points, because we've added to what they've said is essentially their final deal.
You're saying on my amendments to it, but I mean, I think that
So
then,
can we do that we don't approve the current version they have, but would like to make amendments and then bring it up forward for a
Well,
separate group?
Well, we're
Or do you-
certainly not gonna be approving their
What they
final
offered,
version.
yeah.
That seems pretty clear. So,
So we can just make a motion to not approve their current version
well, we
at
can
this
take
point?
no action on it as
Let's
far
take
as I'm
no
concerned.
action. And
Okay.
they know we're submitting,
Then we can push it back to them with the amendments that you've
Correct.
made, Ryan, and
Yeah.
say, what do you think about this? And if they say yes, all I'm saying is, at some point, there's gonna have to be a vote.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so whether it's tonight on the one with your amendments, or we take no action and just send it back over to them. So that's fine too.
I'm good
Okay.
with no action until we get
Yeah,
everybody's.
I'd like to
input.
wordsmith, but I'd like
Right.
to, my other deals that I've sent them several times, I'd like to pull those
But
back.
I'm gonna reflect on this, it'd be appropriate to take a motion to table then.
Oh,
We'll
okay.
just bring it
Well,
back
then I
and we have
motion to
something
table.
Vote on.
Okay, can I get a second?
second.
Ryan? All in favor of motioning, or motioning?
Tabling?
Tabling. That's right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Before we get
Yep.
too far down, I had to wake up my computer, so I need to record who said first and second. Hang on.
I was
Can we make a
first.
motion?
I was second.
We had all in favor. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Alan.
And if you guys can get that somewhere around Halloween, that'd be helpful, just so I can put it together as a cover and get it to them.
After we all assemble our portions, like Power Rangers, can you send it back to us?
Mhm.
So that we can all
Yeah,
confirm that?
I wouldn't send anything out until you guys see what
Okay.
would be going out.
And then if we do need to convene to explain, we can figure that out quick. Okay.
Okay, Marcus?
Yeah.
Thank you for your patience, Marcus.
Council,
I gotta look at my,
first thing on my agenda is the Ty Schmidt stormwater project. We have one bid back. Came in slightly under what Lori was expecting.
is it abnormal to only get one when you send out 12?
I wouldn't say it's not normal. It really depends on who wants. what-
Who has time and I know it's pretty small compared to a lot of what these people are doing. Okay.
You know, very tedious, like planting and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And these guys called, they're not normally a general, which is new to them. A lot of plant restoration people, or just restoration people in general aren't generals. They are subs to bigger outfits that.
Okay.
So that could have been a thing on its own. So,
Oh,
a thing
okay.
on its own too.
Okay.
So, but this is one of the contractors that Lori.
And she had recommended, yeah.
Yeah, she's worked with them quite a few times, so we both reviewed it, didn't see any concerns with the quote, and yeah, we recommend approving, unless the council has any concerns.
Does anybody have questions for Marcus on this quote?
I mean, I guess when do we expect work to start? It probably says in there, but I didn't.
Spring, most likely. Well,
Okay.
it's obviously gonna happen in the spring. They have the option to start this fall, but we'd need a construction meeting and to do that, or pre-construction meeting to do that, we need to approve it tonight.
Okay.
And get a timeline from them.
Okay.
once the vendors are in.
But didn't we mention, I think, in Parks that we were targeting October to have this done?
Up next year?
Mhm.
Yeah, their
Not
contract,
this year.
contract says, exactly a year from tomorrow.
Yeah, okay. And then, I'm fairly confident we discussed this already, but just so that we have it, if, assuming we are recording, I'm hoping we are, that the portion that is currently the soccer field that we have the agreement with would not be affected, so it should be the outer rims of that. So if we wanted to continue to allow this, the
Perfect.
soccer teams to use the fields.
It'd be good to get those dates though, so we can, in the pre-construction meeting,
Yeah.
we can make them aware and then just make sure that.
So that we don't have any open pits or anything, yeah, that'd be good.
Okay.
assuming that they still want to continue renting. I'm assuming they do, but I'm not going to jump for that, but.
Okay, any other questions for Marcus on that? Do you need a motion for us to approve?
Mhm.
Okay, would someone like to make a motion?
I move that we approve this.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Second thing is the 2025 street maintenance project.
Can I pause for just a minute? So we had reached out to Lori Tella on the payment aspects of this one. And it sounds like we can do a two-party check where the city and Lori Tella both sign to mitigate having to have funds put from Birchwood into there and then get reimbursed. So that will kind of filter through that way. And then for the larger grant, for the $10,000 one, which is the Rice Creek that we just received, I might be jumping your list here. That one can be used for portions of this as well. So, okay.
That's
Ju-
reimbursement.
Yes, that's a reimbursement. So that's the 10,000, but that we already approved out of the parks budget, I
Right.
believe. So that money's already been earmarked there. All right, continue, sorry.
Street maintenance project, streets been paved, ditch has been dug. In front of you is the payout for the street project, came in under what we estimated. Question on the project?
Oh, wait, I was looking at the lift station one, sorry.
Can you summarize what it was and what it came in? I'm trying to find the numbers on here
Yeah.
quickly.
So
Page
112,000 roughly is what we
Right here.
quoted in.
That's lift
Okay.
station.
Oh. How come I didn't get one of these? Is it-
You did, it's in the
It's
packet.
in,
Oh, it's in the packet. Oh, I did see it in there. Okay,
so
okay.
$112,527 is what was quoted out. The final bill is $89,071.50.
Oh, that's pretty significant. Okay, it's like a sale. All right.
What
The
was,
summary of what we saved on is when we milled up the road, there's pretty good structure in the road still, so we saved on a lot of patching. And instead of just doing spot, bituminous curb replacement, we saved money by just, bituminous curb.
Okay.
Those areas that had it. That was another pretty good size saving.
was the water main break that happened in either of the new roads that we just did?
It wasn't a water main break, it was a lead, personal, it was on
Oh.
someone's property, yeah.
Oh,
It was a water,
Like a lead line or
water
whatever you
line.
call it.
oh.
Service line.
Service
Thank
line
you.
broke. Okay,
Yeah, it wasn't our main.
oh, okay.
It was a water arterial.
Sure. Okay.
Sorry. I
You don't have to
thought I was
laugh
reading
at
the-
these things. You should
yeah.
just groan at me by now.
I thought from the email it said Maine, sorry, I must have misread. Never mind.
Okay, any questions for Marcus on the street project? Okay. Want to go on to the lift station?
Yeah, so the lift station, that's what's printed out in front of you. Henches didn't send me their signed copy until Monday, so that's why it's not in your packet. So this would be 100% paid, except for we're holding 5% retainage because we still have some punch list items still. So I'd expect, I know they're working on it, they worked on followers yesterday, working on some other things, I think they still get a handful of other things.
So there's, it looks pretty much done.
Yeah,
What,
it's pretty much, as far as you guys can see, it's pretty much done.
Okay.
I know
there's a couple of,
things, it's pretty minor stuff. So that's why we're holding 5% retainage now. Once they get all that done, we walk through with them and it's all good to go. We expect next month we'll see that 5%
And-
retainage.
very nice job managing that, Marcus.
And with this one, we saved, so with that final number of
Excellent. Have we started getting any refund portion back from the EPA on the reimbursement?
Yep.
It's all set?
Every month, yep.
Okay,
So tomorrow, with approval tonight, we'll go out for another reimbursement from the EPA. And then next month, when we approve the release of the retainage, that'll be our final.
the final,
Yep.
okay.
And then we've gotten half of the check from Rice Creek Washington District for that $100,000 grant this week, or the end of last week,
Yesterday.
yesterday. And then upon the final
Or today.
payout next month, we'll get the remaining.
Okay.
1,000.
Okay. And then that one should be done.
That one is done.
Oh my gosh, such a long
And then we'll
time
start the
coming.
warranty period for that as well.
And that's 1 year? 2 years, 2 years. So you need us to probably make a motion to
We approved,
pay that?
to pay both payouts.
Let's see, help me on which lines we're talking about here.
B and C, well, we approved A already.
And these aren't just approved in the claims list, in the city's claims list? Because it's in there.
Is it, then we're good.
Then we've already
Okay.
approved everything?
I
Okay.
mean, I'm happy to do it again, so I don't have to show up again, but
Fine.
okay.
And then the Rice Creek Washington District grant, we did get that $10,000 that Kathy said, so.
Sorry. I jumped.
I think that's in the
Good.
packet. There's
Stole his
just a-
thunder.
A maintenance agreement, and then the grant itself. Any Rice Creek Washington District grant, or really a lot of grants like that, require a maintenance agreement anyways, and it's, it should be city standard practice to just have.
To have maintenance. All right.
That's
You
awesome.
have nothing but good news for us.
Yeah.
Thanks, Marcus.
Are you done with the grant?
Yep.
Because, could you address the netting at Tyke Schmidt, since you looked at it from
Oh,
this
yeah.
evening?
Yep,
Mhm.
I looked at it, and as far as the fence itself, I think it's, you see a lot of concern, Brian brings up some good points of, you don't usually see holes drilled into
Pipe.
pipe
Mhm.
and stuff like that, but, I mean, the netting itself, it's gonna be reflectant of pucks and those kind of things, it's hopefully not reflecting people. So, the fencing itself, I think, is maybe seen better days, so as, you know, it we'll have to watch to make sure, you know, we don't need to do it, but right now the fence is
Okay.
in good shape.
So the netting is not up yet, so if you saw the wire up there, I believe that the netting is intended to go all the way to the ground. Do you remember? I know it's from last year that we had talked about it, so I don't even know if you were in the meetings.
I don't think it's, just,
Do you remember?
I can look while you're talking.
I would think so.
I don't think it is.
I
I'm
would
not,
think it's stopped like right as it gets to the fence. or
Like
a
at the
little
top of the fence, or
Yeah,
does
it's
it?
supposed to be like a 4-foot high.
Oh, okay, so it's just that portion.
Our chain link fence is
So it won't be as heavy as it could be if it were going all the way to the ground, obviously, because of that, but,
Brian had concerns about the height
yeah.
being so far high, and I guess my initial impression is test it out right away, because the units that I've installed for other projects do go higher, so if it's higher, at least right behind that, you have the ability to move it up over
Yeah,
that a
'cause-
little bit,
mhm.
but if it's not needed, then,
Yeah.
cut it down, because it's just
Yeah.
excess.
Okay,
Otherwise, yeah.
okay. So it should be all right as far as structurally. Okay.
Well, I just want to say a couple things now. The netting is, you know, I think it's less netting than what North Oaks has. They have, and I just want to say, but we're not talking about cutting. What I'm interested in is we have extra post height on these heavy posts.
Mhm.
There's two different things that project up. One is the heavy post that came from the backstop.
Mhm.
That goes well above the net line right now. What's
Yes.
gonna be the extra 4 feet of
Mhm.
netting so I asked Ron to cut down the excess above the netting line. So we don't have things projecting like 3 feet above the existing netting.
Mhm. So I think that's what Marcus was just saying, that,
I said,
yeah,
test it to make sure you don't need to extend right behind where
the goal would be.
is, that you don't need to extend it up anymore, that where the height is sufficient. As long as it's sufficient, cut it off.
Right.
We don't need it, but if we do need to raise it, like the most recent park I did, we have 20-foot
I
height.
was gonna say, the majority of the ones I've seen at,
Significantly higher.
what is it, the Loop or whatever in Roseville, that's 20 feet high there.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure if it was
It's
high
kinda
enough.
More expensive, of it, but.
Well, we're not
Then
ready to go,
that's-
like, anyway, you know, if you talked about, I guess, he's got a wire now that goes along the perimeter around the arc, right? And that's a certain level.
Yeah, oh, no, I think that's where they intend to
That's
put
what the
it.
intended height of the.
So that's why I
netting
think
is
we're
going
gonna
to be.
test it. We'll throw
Right,
some
we
pucks
don't-
at it.
But that's okay, I asked him, we don't want any more leverage, because what we're doing, you know, I would prefer to have these heavy posts dug into the ground, so we're not levering on the existing post system that we have, that's what I would like, right? I mean, even though he's bolted and it's rigid, I just wanna say that, you know, to have a small hole holding all this force, or even inside the beam itself, even the post, because they're not necessarily, you know, what we're hanging on them in the rink is not nearly the force that's gonna be generated, you know, that, we're pulling on the beam or the post with these bolts, right? So, I mean, maybe it's gonna be fine, but I think we should,
Yeah,
put
let's,
extra bands around as much as we can to support the post against the pole. So we're not just pulling on these small stressed areas. And I just want to say, we do have some ruptured supports. They're not the heavy duty ones, but on the other end where I was working, you know, there's at least 3 consecutive ones that have burst, right? And that could be because the wooden supports were decayed, you know, and maybe there was more stress on them than there should have been. But nonetheless, it can happen, right? You could have, and that's why I'm trying to
yeah, right,
make sure that
thanks.
in having washers, let's say, it's
Yeah.
not just, you know, we want to distribute the stress as much as possible.
Right.
Because-
Oh, we can have
Okay,
a trip
what
to
do
the
you-
hardware
Okay,
store.
All right, hold on, hold on. Wait,
Right.
Marcus. What do you think about putting bands around the posts?
I mean, it's just extra support, is it needed? I don't know, I mean, I don't know how much it's gonna get used at this point.
Okay,
So, as play progresses, let's say,
we'll just monitor it and then,
monitor it.
okay,
Barton's there
all right.
frequently, I think, so.
Okay, let's just go with that. If you think it's fine as is, we're gonna monitor it to make sure there's no degradation. If there is, we'll have them do extra work to shore it up.
Cut
Hold
the
on.
post down to the
Okay.
same level all over.
You asked about the size of the nets, and they're 4 feet. They're all 4 feet by,
Attaches to the fence that's up there and then up to the top
Okay.
right, I believe.
and there's 3 that are ordered, a 24-foot one, 32, and a 12.
Okay,
Okay? So those are already ordered, should be coming soon.
excellent.
So thank you for checking that out. Thank you for your concern and bringing these issues to us.
Contribute half or something to this cost, or does
yes.
that go by the wayside?
Yes.
Their plan was, well, it's been over a year, but they had offered to pay for the whole thing, which I don't believe we had agreed to, but at least half they had wanted to pay. So,
So we shouldn't be, if they still have to pay, we shouldn't be concerned about a little extra work on this? you know?
No, I don't think that's the issue.
no, that's not the issue at all. So as far as Marcus has mentioned that a lot of them are put in higher, so if we need to move that net up due to something, we don't want to cut it off prematurely.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be able to do, you mean, and just have it high right behind the opening? Okay, I don't know.
Let's just see how it
We'll
goes
see how it
this
goes.
year, and if we need to adjust, we will.
I don't think we're going to hit the garage, which was the
Right.
reason for it in the first
Those
place.
part where, okay, I know what goes on, I see that a lot, and mostly what goes into the street is deflected, right? It doesn't like go on a
Sure.
straight arc, you know, in over, that's a very, it would be very, somebody purposefully trying to do that, but most
So I
things
think
are.
we got the plan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
Okay.
Martin, thanks.
Thanks.
We appreciate your love of the rink. Is there anything else you need to let us know about, Marcus?
I think that's it for me. Is there anything else?
Anybody else have questions for Marcus? All right, thank you so much for your work.
Did you want me here for,
Oh, there's more?
Hold on.
Ty Schmidt Water Quality Project?
No, that's
That-
just
that is the-
park plan.
Park
Then
plan.
I don't think we have any more that I see. Thanks, Marcus.
Swimming fees.
The lift station looks really nice. They wouldn't let me drive the excavator.
What?
they said not to let Ryan.
You gave him a picture?
Got the memo.
I made sure to send that one a couple times.
All right. So,
Crosswalk looked nice too.
are you ready to move on?
Yep.
The next is just for your information only. I did not receive this email, but Kathy, I think you forwarded it to me.
Did. I'm actually surprised you didn't get it because it seemed like it was to all government
Right.
members. So let me find this thing here.
Everyone at home, we're moving on to city business.
City business.
Oh,
yes.
sorry, yes.
Sorry.
We're at city business.
What is listed as one?
And, well, my husband is. We're on number 2, discussion of Mayor Melvin Carter's email regarding protecting citizens from gun violence.
Yes.
I can summarize it if you want.
I'm just trying to find it at this point here.
Oh. It's on page 18 of the
Thank you.
packet.
Oh, yeah. 18?
Yeah,
Oh.
17 and 18.
Oh, okay. And it's showing 16. Am I looking at the wrong packet?
You're probably right, because I left a spot for Marcus's.
Oh, okay, all right. All right, so I can summarize this,
Yeah.
I guess. So we had gotten a email from the mayor of St. Paul, Melvin Carter, asking municipalities to discuss and stand with the St. Paul City Council in proposing ordinances, which I believe, well, their meeting is tonight as well. So as we speak, St. Paul should be discussing these 4 various firearm preemptive laws and discussing gun safety in general. The 4 that they are looking at for St. Paul were banning the public possession of assault weapons, ban binary triggers and high-capacity magazines, ban guns in sensitive city-owned places such as libraries, indoor and outdoor parks, recreation spaces, zoos, museums, beaches, and require every firearm to have a serial number. So that was what was being brought before the St. Paul City Council, and in the email to municipalities, they were asking that other cities discuss standing with them. So that is why it is here.
So it's pretty much, it's just for our information. The way I understand it, when I looked into it a little bit, Minnesota already has a law, a statute regarding firearms. And so their ordinance couldn't even go into effect until that's rescinded. So I think it's, at this point, they really can't do much as far as taking action.
Pretty performative.
Yeah, that's what I would say,
It doesn't sound like the governor's gonna call a special session to deal with it, so.
right? However, it's just good information in case we ever feel like we need to revisit that. Next up is update of the Tig Schmidt's water quality project. So it would be on either page 19 or 20. Pretty much, that's just our contract. You'll see that $65,000. That's their portion that they're holding for us to do the project, the way I understand it.
Correct.
Okay.
And the estimate we got came just below the 2 grant totals.
Right.
So we should be in good shape overall for doing our portion. And then when we had initially discussed this, the city can use volunteer hours or Marcus's time, et cetera, could be part of our match portion. So there is a potential that this will not cost us additional, so, which would be great. And our community generally, much like this last weekend when we had our cleanup day, shows up to help, so I anticipate we should be in good shape.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on. You'll find in your packet the report from the Birchwood Water Main Task Force. They really did a great job in going through all the information that they were provided. They had good questions for the engineer. And considerations, I thought, were very well thought out. A lot of them we had already discussed, so, well, definitely, I think we should definitely take their recommendations into
Do
consideration.
their recommendations jive with our preliminary budget?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Well, if you, their first recommendation here was to continue the current level of operations and maintenance budget for 2026, to sustain the water services. So basically, it was saying they would recommend not working on the water main, which I think we've explained multiple times that we're not going to do until we get a grant. So since we did not get a grant, of course, that is off the table. So, number 2, though, they asked to consider the street segments that were designated to reclaim, reshape, to be looked at to just do mill and overlay. And I actually had a meeting with Marcus this afternoon, and the majority of the roads project was mill and overlay. There was only 2 roads slated for reclaim and reshape total from here out. So, yeah, I don't know more I could say about that. Consider increasing the annual budget for the street rehabilitation, which we did in our budget.
I'm thrilled to see that they thought that was a good idea.
Yes.
Because I was concerned it would be a, we don't want to budget for it, but fix it anyway, which.
I have actually spoken with so many residents in the last couple weeks about whether they're all right with tax increases to pay for doing the roads. I haven't had one person yet say no.
I would hope that people know.
I
we're
know,
not doing
they-
it just for the fun of
I'm
it.
I'm just saying that I
Yeah.
think overall, even though we're hesitant
Yeah.
about asking for money to do that, that's what people want,
Well, I think,
so.
I'll give Margaret some credit, and I think you've gone further yet in terms of getting the city to the point where it's a little more professionally run, so to where we have plans and, the seat of our pants isn't the thing we're flying by
No.
all the time. So I think
I
I
don't
would
like
say,
that. Yeah.
I think the committee did that, and I think you've done a good job on that, so.
I think thank you for that, but I think this entire council likes to plan for the future. That's in all of our workshops.
I just have
All of us are more invested in, what's the city gonna look like in 10 years?
I'm just saving for a 4-wheel drive.
I know. We did talk about that. So, and then, number 4 was consider improving record keeping on utility assets,
Brilliant.
including summary of any future water main breaks and other service interruptions. Yeah, that's a great idea. In my meeting with Marcus today as well, so if you recall back, oh my goodness,
June,
when
July.
we talked about that,
Documents.
not that, well, not that
The
part.
additional pay for the
Yes.
water main, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
The grant from the Minnesota Department of Health to look at the service lines and, okay, so that work was done. And Marcus showed me, remember, he was gonna update the GIS? It's so awesome already.
Excellent.
Like, the information in there, he has documents that have been scanned in from 1965. So
That's great.
I know, I was so excited. It's such a geeky thing to say, but when he showed me all the information in one place, so if you had any questions about your house, for example, congratulations. You're number one in the city.
Wow.
One and only.
I know.
But
What are
anyway,
you,
you could
Kathy?
click on any address and it would say, tell you what their service line is made of. Like if you had just any work done in front of your house, or, it's just so cool. So, we're on the way.
How do we let residents know about that?
We could send it
No.
out. There's just a link to it, right? Anybody can access it. We can just,
GIS.
Yep.
I don't know if they can get into it. I'm not sure.
I've looked at it before.
So have I, but I don't know if.
I don't remember if I
Somebody
had to
sent
sign
out-
in.
We should find out, because like the county has it all available.
Yes, the county
If I
does.
remember, there was like a password that was emailed out.
Yes, we
but-
had one.
Which seems like we should let people have read-only access to
Okay.
everything.
They're still the staff at Bolton Mink is still uploading all the information from this
Yeah.
past summer. So maybe when that's done,
Yeah, so when
we
it's
can have the
done,
big reveal.
Right, that would be a nice
Yeah.
thing to tell residents.
Sure. And so it's gonna be something we can update starting this winter with the water main breaks where they are. And we'll have a good idea if there's any pattern or whatever.
Find out if your neighbor's pipes freeze.
Okay. Why do you do this to me, Ryan?
What?
Nothing. So anyway, I really appreciate their work. They did a great job. And as we move forward, we should use them again. It was a good group. So, moving on, first of all, do you have any other questions about the task force? There.
I loved number 5 as well. Big fan.
Were you number 5?
The Capital Reserve Fund.
Yes.
Brilliant.
I
I
know.
think that's a great idea.
I know, when I read that, I'm like, oh, yes, good idea.
Good job, thank you.
I was not able to read the copy of the current road plan. I assume that's just our one that we already had, right?
Yes.
They make
So, I didn't want to really talk about this tonight, but I asked to meet with Marcus this afternoon to discuss the 2026 road plan.
Okay.
And because we have money from the levy going in directly into the roads, road improvement, and because there were budget underruns on both major projects, this road project and the lift station, we do have extra money. We can still set aside a good portion for the capital improvement fund, but still use a chunk of that unused money from previous projects and throw it in.
2026 a little bit more?
Yes,
Okay.
and so the tentative plan we came up with, I think a lot of residents will be excited about.
Good.
It's gonna cover a lot of the city, but we're gonna just kind of hold off until January.
Save it. It'll
Yeah.
be fun.
Well, because Marcus wants to do it again, just an open house so people can come in and see the plan.
Oh, that was really good when we did that,
And
so that's a good
so-
plan.
Anyway, so that's coming. So I was really excited about that as well today. He's doing a great job, by the way. Ryan, discussion of ordinance to amend the fee schedule.
Just
Oh, I'm
one-
sorry.
Do we need to formally get back to this group and respond to what they have laid out?
To the water main
Oh.
task force.
Are they disbanded now that they've
They
put
don't
in
have
their
any-
report?
They don't have any meetings.
Okay.
Oh, it was a task force.
Yes,
We should just,
They completed their task.
so they're done,
could we
right?
put a thank you for them in the
Yeah.
newsletter? maybe?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know, what else did you have in mind, Bridget? Do you?
Well, so they say, consider developing a strategy to build capital reserve. We should tell them we've done that. It's in the
Okay.
budget. We should say exactly what we're doing with each of their points,
Okay.
I think.
That's a good
Yeah.
idea.
Do you want me to put together a report back to them?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think that would be good.
Sure, I can do that. Okay.
You know, the point that you made about there are only 2 roads that won't be milling over.
Yeah.
Just, so let's get the facts out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that until today when he was pointing it out to me, so, yeah, that would be great. Did you want to talk about the fee schedule?
You know, I can say a couple things. I know you mentioned to me that maybe we were losing money on village hall rentals, and I think there's a handful of things in the fee schedule that could probably be revised, but maybe what would be best would be for you and I, if you have an interest, to just sit down and we'll print out a copy of the fee schedule and mark it up a little bit, and then I can take responsibility to turn it into an ordinance, as I've done way too many times, but if anybody else has comments that this fee seems too high, this fee seems too low, you know, let us know. I know Bridget said it was way out of date, and I said, yeah, I think we got a little behind on our ordinance processing, so let's get some of that fixed, so, but I don't need to talk about it beyond that.
Okay, I did print out a copy today. Well, how about I
Yeah.
scan it in and email it to all of you, and you can put your comments on it? And send it back to Therese, and she can compile our comments, and you and I can work on it from that.
Can we do that, Alan?
Why not?
Is that an open meeting
We
issue?
could
Do
even
it
in a
independently
workshop.
and send it to her to aggregate the material, I think
Okay.
that's fine.
Okay. Then let's do that. And I don't know if anybody else has any comments. You can always tweak it in a meeting too if we have to.
That's right. We
so.
won't make decisions. We can make the
just
decision
really
during the meeting, but
Yeah, it
just,
doesn't
Independent
seem like
feed,
that
and
big
we'll
a
bring them
deal.
together and bring it to
Okay.
the whole group.
just gather the data.
Our next newsletter, as far as responding to that, it looks like our November, end of November is going to be our next newsletter.
Already?
I'm just letting you know for timing as far
It's
as,
like we just did that. Okay.
I just was making sure it wasn't this month.
Oh,
so that-
man.
So that I didn't
Time
need a
flies,
full
I
report.
tell ya.
Yep.
Oof. All right. That's the end of city business. Did we approve the consent agenda yet, or no?
No.
Okay.
I
Is
just
there,
had two tiny comments very fast.
Yes.
On the consent agenda.
what would you like to pull out?
No, nothing, I just wanna
Okay.
make a comment on two things. One, so the deer hunt is this Thursday and Friday.
Yes.
I would just say next year, let's not have it on NEA.
Yep.
We got a lot of kids at home. And the balance sheet, I was just surprised we don't have any money that we've spent on trees. It's like zero, but we've been doing trees.
That's because mostly Ron and Jim have been doing it.
Okay.
So we haven't had Steve Dean
Right,
doing any of it, which I think is what we had budgeted for, was
right.
external tree service.
He's done a couple things. I don't know if he's billed the city, though.
Probably ought to find another tree service.
Yes, well,
Right,
we've
we
talked
got
about
money
that.
Sitting there, we should
I have,
somebody.
I have one quote that came back, and it was for Polly's Park, and it was 30,000 to take out
Well,
the big trees in Polly's Park.
At this point, couldn't we take our money this year and our money next year and just do that?
We could.
That doesn't seem like the worst thing. I mean, maybe we prioritize a little differently, but just as throwing out an option.
Can we make sure we stump grind, because there's no way new trees will be able to be planted amongst all those stumps? That was the part that they didn't include that was in our previous quote, which is why the cost difference was significant.
Probably a longer conversation, but, let's figure out what we wanna do with trees.
Okay,
That's all I had.
okay.
But yes, the
Perfect.
October 16th and 17th is the deer hunt. We should, assuming this is being recorded, that
Okay,
people should know that that is happening at that time frame.
all right. Anything else we need to discuss? Okay, if not,
We should approve the consent agenda, though. So I will move that we approve the things on the consent agenda. We didn't pull anything out, did we?
I'll second.
Ryan, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Bridget, second?
I'll second. Kathy?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes, and we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
I'm going to vote against adjourning sometime.
You're going to filibuster.